Hello, this is Mindstormer. Recently, I came to the realization that I have never played any games from the NES's library, start to finish. I know, how shocking. Now I have played a little bit of Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, Balloon Fight, Excite Bike, Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda 1 and 2, so it's not like I've never experienced the console. Au contraire, I have a big one, and a little one, plus a gun. With all that said, I'm left with the question of what to play. I mean, preferably I'd like a bit of a challenge, maybe something that would elicit the feeling of accomplishment when I beat it. An achievement of sorts. Well, now I just need to find one that meets these requirements. I know just the game. Revered for its difficulty and 1960s horror movie theming, Castlevania makes a perfect candidate to play through. I've always wanted to experience the franchise, and what better way to start than with the first entry? So, without further ado, let me fill your heads with the knowledge of my time playing Castlevania on the NES. Or more precisely, Castlevania on the NES and the Anniversary Collection on PC. But that takes way too long to say. After starting the game, it starts. As everyone says, games back in the day used to have no frills at all. What could be more simple than a man named Simon Belmont, a gate, a castle housing 1960s horror movie monsters, and a town that has slept peacefully for 100 years since Christopher Belmont felled Dracula with his at least great-grandmother-infused magic whip and his bare hands. Then one Easter night, the townspeople were celebrating the joyous holiday with a splendid carnival. But in the ruins of the old monastery, you know the one, a dark cult held a seance for Dracula, and as a birthday present, they resurrected him. Yeah, maybe there is more to it than I thought. Let me see here. He has a son? That? I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Okay, but let's begin for real this time. Upon opening the gate, I was faced with my first challenge. Candles. I know what they look like, but they never show up in this form again. And the rest of the game uses candles, so just pretend. Luckily, I figured out that they give you upgrades and items on the last one before entering the castle, permitting me to go back and grab them all. Entering the castle brought me to the real first stage. Here I had to get through an army of someone's cloned grandmother, like who looked at this and said, yeah, that's a zombie. I have another complaint. What do black leopards have to do with horror movie monsters? I couldn't find a single thing that linked them to horror. The only thing I can think of is black cats being a superstition thing, but that's such a stretch for something that could easily have been a werewolf or something. Plus, there are only 3 in the entire game. 3! All in the main hall at the start. The Phantom Bat, the final boss of the area, was the only slight challenge I had. Even then, it was really only for me not being used to the controls yet. It did begin the snowball effect that was my many deaths later on, but that was bound to happen at some point. I defeated on my second try, so not much pride was lost. I was confident in my abilities going into the second area. I breezed through the first section with absolutely no resistance, except my own stupidity, so I had nothing new to fear. That all changed as I entered the hallway. Infinite floating Medusa heads litter this place with the smallest gap of safety between them. One might assume that this only requires basic pattern recognition to get through, and you'd be right. But it's what follows that makes the passage through the hallway so irritating. Here, I had to jump on these small itty-bitty frickin' platforms using controls that are so stiff, 10 years of physical therapy couldn't save them. And on top of that, the floating heads are back. If you get hit once, you're dead, and have to go through the hallway again. I did end up pulling off this cool skip, so everything was rectified. The last notable danger was these. Spiked presses with larger hitboxes than was necessary. Other than that, the rest was pretty painless. Oh, by the way, Medusa was a pushover. I moved on into the third area, humbled by my experiences in the second. And I quickly got humbler when faced with the absolute terror that is monkeys. You heard me right. Monkeys. You can't tell me that's a hunchback. Look how it gets around. Quasimodo would never do this. Oh, free me. Up above, I ran into the heads again. However, I just held right and that works. Apparently. The final stretch is a gauntlet of cannons, made even harder by the constant looming threat that is ravens. This is a devastating combo. Want to walk straight to a cannon? Nope. A raven stalls you as the cannon readies its shots. You might be tempted to jump those bullets. But beware, the Raven is now guarding the airspace above you. To get past, I had to dispatch the Ravens outside the range of the cannons, then play a quick bullet rhythm game. At the end, I had to contend with the heads and a cannon together, but I had only got hit once, so I was able to brute force it no problem. Lastly was this area's boss, the Mummy Men. They paled in comparison to what I had faced in the rest of the level, especially because I could just stand on a ledge they can't reach. To be fair though, they did almost kill me at the end, but that was just from me being careless, since I had tons of health. Area 4 has absolutely no mercy. You either learn all the patterns, play perfectly and still lose, or quit. I genuinely considered giving up part of the way through, from how unfair it felt. Watch the start of the level. Instant bat assault followed by moving platforms with fishmen. I'd also consider this the easiest part since down the line there's another moving platform with even more bat assault, and fishmen no clipping through the walls. If that wasn't enough, we also got eagles dropping monkeys left, right, and center. Heck, at one point, a skeledragon bugged out, froze, and became invincible. Why? Would be a great start. But that was the least of my problems, as Frankenstein and his pet monkey were a serious roadblock. Theoretically, if I was to make it past everything else in the area, there was a chance. One opportunity to relieve the world of old Frank and Igor. Holy water. It can damage, yes, but did you know it also stuns enemies? I'd also require double shot or triple shot too, which allows me to throw multiple of the sub-weapon. This would be necessary to perpetuate the stunning, though there is one minor obstacle. I have to get holy water. Fortunately, I know of a certain candle that carries such a beverage. Unfortunately, it's at the beginning of the level, meaning I would have to journey through the entire level without dying. That sounds simple, but trust me, here, it isn't. To spare you the details, which by now you should be able to tell aren't that interesting since I've continuously skipped them, it wound up taking me 2 hours and 46 minutes, which in retrospect felt like an eternity. In comparison, the first, second, and third area took me 7 minutes, 35 minutes, and 53 minutes respectively. Sure, it didn't take as long as I thought it did in the moment, but it doesn't matter. At that point, I was just glad to beat it. The music was starting to drive me crazy. In the fifth area, as you can see, I started off very strong. For a while I was stuck at the beginning, as there were also 2 skeletons who constantly threw bones at me. It took me a few tries, but I had their patterns memorized fairly quickly, which could be said a lot about the fifth area. Pretty much every section struck a perfect balance of difficulty and fairness. Enemies didn't feel as random here as they did elsewhere in the castle. It didn't make it easy. I just wasn't throwing myself at the roulette wall that is this game quite as much. That brief period of hope ended faster than my life when fighting monkeys, because I was faced with an even harder hallway. The heads were here per usual, but now they were joined by the Axemen. They made a near impenetrable duo. The Axeman keeps his distance while the heads keep you from advancing comfortably. Therefore, you'll practically need a projectile sub-weapon. Good thing there's a cross/boomerang downstairs. However, it's not enough for them to zone you out in the hallway. No. See, they zone you for an entire 6-minute level. That's the length of time it takes to reach that hallway, on average, and I might have had to make that trek more than I'd like to admit. I persevered, as I am legally required to, and arrived at death. I approached, equipped with an identical strategy to my battle with Frankenstein. Yes, I do feel like it's a little cheap, but the game cheats me at every chance it gets, so it's only fair. I mean, this is what the fight looks like normally. Either the game breaks me, or I break it, and break me, it would try. Unfortunately for it, let's try that again. Unfortunately for it, again, but somewhere else. Unfortunately for it, I came prepared, which secretly means it was unremarkable moving on. After all I've been through, every up in difficulty and down in my mental health, I'd at long last made it to Dracula himself. And so began the final, longest, and hardest struggle. To prepare for the battle, I'd get at least 50 hearts from resetting the candles outside his chambers. These were needed as I used sub-weapons extensively during the fight, and they were what was necessary to enable that. Well, without further ado, let the final bout commence. As Dracula rises, I prepare myself, then throw holy water to destroy the fireballs he launches. I could jump this attack, but I'm vying for something more than safety. I want the double shot, and the single way to get one here is through destroying those fireballs. I fortunately got it very quickly, followed by the triple shot. In spite of my newfound luck, a bath of holy water isn't quite the way to fell Dracula. No. Here, his only weakness is his head. Wait. A head? What an absolute idiot. Throughout this whole journey, I fought wave after wave of heads, all unknowingly readying me for and leading to this sole moment, where I'd have to face off against his face. And well, it isn't even floating. Don't worry, I'll send that old creep's head flying. I meant that metaphorically. I didn't think that would actually happen. That's just unfortunate for him. Oh yeah, the second face. That's what the holy water was for. Piece of cake. So, the credits roll, the castle falls, and I walk away victorious. Oh, you probably want to know how long each area took me. Respectively, they took 7 minutes, 35 minutes, 53 minutes, 2 hours and 46 minutes, 2 hours, 34 minutes, 38 minutes, and Dracula took the longest at 3 hours, 16 minutes, totaling to 8 hours and 15 minutes, which again, I swear felt way longer when playing it. Despite the short time me and Castlevania shared, it still managed to shave an unrecoverable amount of years off my life. Though, in the end, after slaying Dracula, I did feel quite proud and accomplished with what I was able to do. And that's all I could really ever ask for.